despite what their moms told them. They just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't even try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot and really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Now, those two unapologetically biased orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, Orange men and ladies. Happy Monday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe at Cuse Militia. On the socials, go there, join the militia. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us. We appreciate all of you. We are back. Stuff's not working. There we go. Sorry, no, it made it click. We're back. We told you we'd be back if there was news to talk about, and here we are. So we didn't lie this time.
No, we knew that there was going to be news coming out about TBT at some point, and per usual, 1 or 2 days after we do it, the news comes out. So,
and that's typical. That's fine. It's fine. But just a little bit to talk about. I want to do it now because we got a packed week. I actually be going to Charlotte at some point. Might go see Joe, maybe. I don't know.
Might.
I'm playing. So, all right. Well, I don't have anything to bloviate about or promote. So it's been quiet on that front, which is kind of nice. I'm not sure. You know, I don't have to be pushy about products and whatnot in the next newfangled gambling app. So that's nice.
Right.
All right. Well, look. Let's get into the Boeheim's Army stuff real quick. The roster came out about 2 days after we did the show, and it was more than that, I think. But we were very curious as to what this was going to be looking like. We talked about the Syracuse Regional at SRC Arena. That's going to be from July 22nd to the 25th. Blue Collar U is going to be in that region, which makes total sense. And then Friday Beers, Blue Collar U, that's a Buffalo alumni team. And then Friday Beers is formerly Armored Athlete. So they're confirmed for the region, and we'll have to see who else we get in there. And also, we know about last year's roster. Every year the roster changes, of course, but last year, Kiefer Sykes is playing in Indiana, so he's not going to be at the TBT with Boeheim's Army this year. He won himself a spot after his star performance last year and helping us get that championship to the NBA. And Tyler Lydon, who contributed last year, he has retired. So that is that for those. So returners, DeAndre Kane, Joe, Andrew White, DJ Kennedy, he disappeared. CJ Fair, the Swan. They're all coming back from last year's team. Eric Devendorf, notably missing from the roster, and we got some new ones, some really awesome new ones. And this is my favorite right here. These three: Tyler Ennis, okay, that's amazing. Raheem Christmas, that's amazing, and a fan favorite who from Syracuse doesn't love our boy, Marek Dolezaj. So, I mean, look, that in itself is going to be fun. So, what about any of this? Oh, and then some new guys, right? So, DeBost, who I don't know if I embarrassingly admit this or if there's a lot of people in the same boat as me, but I don't remember DeBost, okay, in college. And forgive me, but I just don't. Many of us remember Kyle Wilcher, formerly from Gonzaga, was what we would know him from during that Final Four run in 16? No. Was it 16?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then I think he played for Kentucky too. So those two new faces, DeBost from Mississippi State, and I hope it's Bost because I've said it 5 times now. So from Mississippi State. I assumed if I was wrong, and Joe would correct me by now. So, okay. So first things first, Joe. look, I didn't do my research. That's why I have you. That's why I pay you to be on the show.
Paycheck's been a little light.
It's been light. Speaking of Boeheim's Army, though, I do got something to bring you. I do have something to bring you. So, for what it's worth, when I come down to see it.
See if you remember.
Yeah, that's the thing. Will I remember? That's the thing. So, all right, Joe, tell us about D-Boss, Mississippi State. Okay, he's played in the TBT before. This will be his fourth season, if you will, playing in the TBT. And he played in Turkey, I guess against or with whatever with Tyler Ennis. So, which is where he's been playing. So, what do you got?
Well, you pretty much threw it all. I mean,
oh, sorry.
He played. No, you're good. I mean, he played in Mississippi State from 2008 to 2012. So he's got experience playing in overseas leagues, and he also has experience playing in this tournament. So and he's a point guard. So him and Tyler Ennis are looking like our only point guards. And if Tyler Ennis, if it's a little too difficult for him, or maybe he just can't adapt, so maybe the Elam ending, or just how things are going, then obviously you got D-Boss there to kind of help. But there is that whole, I think D-Boss and Kyle Wiltshire and Tyler Ennis all play in Turkey, so I think that was kind of what helped get some of these guys. But there's some people out here that think that this team is rivals, or it might be better than last year's. But Tyrese Rice and Kiefer Sykes, they made a lot of big plays, and they were our point guards. So I think D-Boss he's kind of coming in. He's got to fill some big shoes, and obviously we can get Tyler Ennis, but he's a good player. He can score, and he's a great assist guy as well. So you can't. I mean, he's solid. You just got to hope that he can kind of hit the big shots when Tyrese Rice and Kiefer Sykes did last year, because last year we needed him. So maybe we got some scoring in some other places that's going to help that. So maybe he won't have to score as much. But that's pretty much what I got. I don't really remember him too much either. But yeah, that's where we're at.
And by the way, this all came, and I think I saw it. Oh, I know where I saw it. It was texted to me, as all Twitter breaking news is, by Cuse Waterboy, because he knows I hate that place and I'm never on there. So if anything breaks, that's my source most of the time. So Dave McMenamin, is that right? McMenamin? Yeah, I believe so. Never heard of her.
Sounds good to
me. He's the one that broke the news on a source telling him about the roster, and obviously Adam Weissman and Sean Belby with the roster construction. No mention of Eric Devendorf in there. Now, we know how active he was in recruiting last year's roster, and also playing. And I speculated last episode that will we see Eric Devendorf? I mean, he went out on top. He goes out and wins the thing. Okay. But for him to not be mentioned here, or even mentioned like at all as far as maybe being on the bench or anything like that, I was a little surprised by. I didn't expect him to play, but I was a little surprised by that. So anyways, with back to the new guys, and the last one here being Kyle Wiltshire, a 3-banger, and he can shoot the ball, obviously. And that's going to be huge, because we didn't really have that last year. So it was mostly fancy play. So by the Kiefer Sykes, who was amazing, right? So
and Tyrese Rice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. Obviously, you can't forget Tyrese Rice. But both of those guys were amazing. So we're gonna we sacrificed a little bit of that for some decent shooting, right? And with Raheem Christmas and probably going to be starting at center, right? So we assume. I don't know. Look, I love the Marek play. I love that. That's going to be huge. That's going to sell tickets. Okay, but I'll be interested to see. I don't know what Marek's been doing, so it's going to be interesting to see how he jumps back into this thing, and that'll be fun. That'll be fun. That's what I'm looking forward to, and I can't help myself. So that's just how I look at it. But Wiltshire, Joe, what else you got for Wiltshire?
Well, he plays at Turkey, but also I think he's also Canadian as well. So him and Tyler Ennis have that kind of Canadian thing too. But yeah, I think he was the guy 2016. He scored 26 points against us, and he's got the height and the length of power forward, almost center. But he can go out and shoot from deep, and I think this is definitely going to be a guy that's going to be able to help us because of the fact that we do have some guys that can penetrate and kick with TJ Kennedy, DeAndre Kane, and obviously our point guards Tyler Ennis and D-Boss. So definitely look to this guy. And again, I was kind of preluding to the fact, we lost a little bit of offense with the point guard changes from last year to this year, but I think we did gain a little bit of offense in other areas, and I think Kyle Wiltshire is definitely the guy that's going to boost that for sure. It's a good pickup, man. He really is. So
I don't know when. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I know it's probably tough for some Syracuse fans because, we played against him in Gonzaga, and he had a good game. I think he had like 26 points against us in that Sweet 16 matchup. So
I think we can forgive him if he can come out and do some damage, right, alongside of us.
That's been proven. So, yeah.
And
Tyrese.
This being a Syracuse alum team should be squashed at this point, right? I think, I'm not attached to that to the point where it makes a difference to me. But obviously we can't call this a Syracuse alum team anymore because they did it for a number of years, and then they kind of diddled in a little bit, and then it got to be a little bit more, and then and now half the teams from different schools and different places, and I'm fine with that. I want trophies, right? It's still Boeheim's Army. You still got the bulk of you're always going to be bringing back some good play and some good players that we all remember, and some nostalgia there with Ennis and Christmas. I think that's great. And CJ Fair, obviously. But what do you think? When you were looking or waiting rather for this roster? There was rumors of Buddy or maybe a Jimmy, right? We heard that there's a possibility for a Boeheim, right? And which I guess would have been okay by the rules, right? Because they're not. It's before the draft and all that. So I did hope to see like Buddy. I thought that would have been fun because of we all know the drama and how his career at Syracuse ended.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Perfectly honest with you, I think the draft is the end of this month.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, you speculated. You didn't think he's going to get picked up anyways. I think you might be right, by the way.
Well, but even after that, it's a situation.
No one pays attention to it anyway.
Yeah, but if you don't, then you can get undrafted. They still have summer leagues and a whole bunch of people go and play.
Right, so he's going to be busy.
Yeah, I think a lot of the players that were on the team this year, they're going to be busy regardless. I wouldn't look to be adding any of those guys for sure.
How long before we see a Buddy Boeheim or Carmelo Anthony? Well,
Melo he's only got a couple more years before I know he's still playing in the NBA, but I don't know. He's on the Lakers this year, and who knows what's going to happen next year. I can only imagine he's going to play.
He's had a long career in the NBA.
Right. He has, 100%. And I just hope that, because he's always been a guy like that was like willing to give back to the community. And I know that he knows how awesome that would be to be able to go up there into Syracuse and maybe host an OCC. Dude, imagine if he played, like, we're going to be a 1 seed probably anyway, but like in 1 or 2 years, if he were to play, we would be a 1 seed automatically. And I just think that he would. He's got a lot of stuff going on off the court too, business wise too. So you hope that doesn't, and he is on the West Coast doing that stuff, and he's been for quite some time because he played for Portland before this. So you never really know, but in Denver really. So he's been a lot of East Coast minus New York, or West Coast minus New York. So
how awesome would it be to see a Buddy Boeheim and a Carmelo Anthony on the court together? That would be cool.
That'd be really, really cool.
I bet
Especially
you
when you look at like that video.
Yeah, the old video of Buddy when he was a kid trying to smack his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's going to take as long as Buddy trying to get to the NBA, not making it to the NBA, playing somewhere overseas, and hoping that overseas schedule doesn't interfere with his TBT.
Right.
But I think that the minute that he has got an overseas contract, and then that overseas schedule allows him to play in this, I think that he will. No doubt about it.
Yeah. And they'll likely keep the, well, I guess I don't know the rules of it, but you would think they would keep a regional in Syracuse. I feel like that's going to be, if you want to make money selling tickets, I feel like that's a surefire way to do it. Right? I mean, if you're looking at the money end of things, you try to keep that regional in Syracuse. It just makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and going back to what you're talking about the team too, like I know, like you said, it's going to be Boeheim's Army, and I think it came to a point where we just kind of knew that, just our alumni weren't going to get it done.
It's so the right combination of alumni too, though. I mean, it just wasn't strong enough. They had a couple of good runs in the beginning. It just wasn't strong enough, and it's difficult. And I think, reaching out. I think
we hit the.
Go ahead.
We hit the ground running when this first came out. You know what I mean? Like we were, because it was about alumni, and we had a strong alumni that wasn't in, the NBA at that point. And I think that obviously it's grown, the purse has grown, and I think the popularity of the tournament in the middle of the summer has grown, and the seriousness. I mean, you've seen it when you see all these NBA players that are putting up the money for the team, right? On their coaching or assistant coaching. DeMarcus Cousins had a team, and someone else had a team. So, like, when you look at it, it's gotten to where there's better players now that are actually going in and playing too from overseas and from other places. So, it's become tougher to win this tournament, and that's why we had to go out and do that. So that's, I look at it, as long as more than half of the players, or at least 50% of the players, are Syracuse alumni, then it's fair game.
Yeah. Anything else?
Had to do it to win.
Anything else TBT related before we move on that we're missing?
Well, I mean, what do you think about this team versus last year's team? I know it's kind of similar, but
I think you already hit it when we talk about the guys that we lost and just how amazing those guys were making plays on the inside and things like that, and what Kiefer Sykes alone did. I know Tyrese Rice was awesome, but what Kiefer Sykes did was amazing. Some of the moves that he put on, some of the shots that he made. I mean, I don't know. You almost have to have so much luck in this thing because it's so up in the air. I feel like any team can beat anybody for the most part. And it's one of those things that's like you need a lot of luck. And Syracuse got a lot of luck last year. Like they hit some shots at a lot of the end of those, towards the end of the tournament, in some of those last few games that were just, unbelievably skilled players, obviously, but some luck involved there too. So I don't know, man. I like the Ennis Christmas thing. I do. And I don't, and just to see some new faces, right? We're not that far removed from Mark. I don't know, like I said, what he's going to be able to do, but all in all, when you look at the whole roster, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a killer roster. And when it came out as just being sourced and not confirmed, I was like, man, I'll take this. Even though I heard rumors of a buddy and things like that, I'm like, I'll take this the way it is. If it was not to be touched, I would take this, and I feel like this is at least a Final Four team. If you want to call it Final Four, whatever the hell they call it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I get it. Who are these Syracuse players that were on the team last year that are not on the team this year? There's
Eric Devendorf, Tyler Lydon. And I think that's... Wait, no, there has to be more, right? No, I think that might be it, dude. I think it might be it. Right?
We didn't have a Dante Green. Dante Green didn't play, right?
No.
I would have to look.
I would have. Yeah, he played, but not last year. I'd have to look up the roster, but the two obvious ones are Tyler Lydon, who honestly, and this isn't a knock, it's just fact. He just didn't do that much, and you could tell. I mean, that it's just he was at the end of his career. It just didn't do that much. And with Devendorf, he played the perfect role that you would expect him to play, but I didn't expect him back. So I don't know. We'd have to look up an old roster, and obviously, you're probably doing that right now, right? I see you gazing.
Trying.
No? Okay.
Trying to. It's just, like I said, it's just the way that
if we're missing someone, there's people screaming at their phones or radios right now.
Oh, I'm sure they probably are. Yeah, I look at it like you said, like with Devendorf being a little bit in the later, stage of his career, and with Tyler Lydon getting to the point where he was going to retire because of an injury, obviously he wasn't moving 100%. I think that these guys, I think we got perfect replacements because, Kiefer Sykes, he's got that NBA contract now. I don't really know what the deal is with Tyrese Rice. I hope he's not playing for another team.
Yeah, right.
That's something we might want to check out too.
Malachi.
Oh, okay. Malachi Richard. Which
Chris McCullough. I missed a bunch.
Well, Chris McCullough didn't play though.
That's right. He did not play.
Yeah. So Malachi, he had I think maybe one good game, and then I think he kind of.
Chuku played last year.
Huh. Well, he didn't play again. I think we got better on defense. And everyone kind of is going to look at Tyrese Rice, Kiefer Sykes, and we're switching them out with Tyler Ennis and D-Boss. So again, I think that they kind of got big shoes to fill, but at the same time, I don't think they're going to be asked to score as much. I think that DJ Kennedy and actually DeAndre Kane are going to have to score a little bit more. Kyle Wilcher is going to bring a big boost, but the defense that comes with Rakeem Christmas and Marek, I think, is going to be a really, really big difference in some of what last year was, because there was lulls where we didn't play great defense when there were certain players that weren't out there.
Typical Syracuse stuff too in the beginning of the games.
Right.
It just didn't fire off a couple times. They almost lost because of it last year, but they just didn't fire off.
Yeah, and I also like the fact that you have a situation where they're probably going to play man a lot, especially with the guys that they have on the roster. But that we also have, at least for right now, we have 5 players that, for all intents and purposes, are all from Syracuse, and we could make up a starting 5 that could go in and play the zone, with Ennis and Andrew White at the top of the zone, with Christmas in the middle, and Mark and CJ Fair. That'd be a pretty solid zone, and they all know how to play it. And they would all be playing their positions that they played, so that would be interesting to see if you wanted to kind of switch things up too in the middle of the game.
And if you want my opinion on who needs to, from last year that's going to be playing again, I think CJ Fair and Andrew White need to. And Andrew White had his moments last year, and CJ Fair did too a little bit. Well, I'd say more Andrew White, but more production from those two is going to be needed. Like this, it's got to click. What was the year? Who was the player that he just took all the shots? It was the year we first started bringing different people in, and what was Jordan? What the hell was his name?
Jordan Crawford, maybe.
I think so. Yes, Jordan Crawford.
Yeah, he was an NBA player. Yeah,
and he wasn't. It was like you looked at that year, and I think it was the year before last, 2020, maybe something like that. Maybe 2019
before COVID.
Okay, maybe 2019. All right, but anyway, my point is that team just didn't play together. So
right.
You have to have the fluidity and obviously unselfish play. And, you look at like Christmas Dolezaj. We know Dolezaj's not a selfish guy. And you just want to be able to have a little bit more production from Andrew White and CJ Fair. They played their part, but if all these guys can get clicking, it would be... it could be lights out. They can go back to back. And if they went back to back, it's totally possible. But if they did, what was it? Yeah. Overseas, we're talking overseas elite. What'd they do? 4 in a row?
God, I forget.
Was it something like that? 4 or 5?
There was a lot. There was only 1 or 2 other teams that had won anyone different. But yeah, we could. You're absolutely right. And last year was a little bit different because we still had some guys that, Tyrese Rice had to come up and grab the bull by the horns and kind of be the leader. Plus we had Eric Devendorf still that I think kind of held everything together. You got to have that guy. And that's why I think honestly, I only see 9 players on this roster. Maybe it's still a situation because we haven't heard about Eric Devendorf. Maybe he will come out, be maybe a player coach type thing, something. Either way, I don't see a way that he's not on the bench, at least being able to keep these guys unified. Because when you talk about a tournament like this where you throw people together and they're putting it, well, there's other people putting in money for because they have sponsors, but like they're not guaranteed any money. And there's a lot of egos, and they don't play with each other as often. They don't practice all the time. They get some practice time. They'll get together and whatever, but it's harder to keep those teams kind of together and kind of align and keep their egos together. So I think that it's definitely a plus having the DJ Kennedys and the DeAndre Canes coming back for a little bit more of the experienced captain type, but also they've already played with CJ Fair and Andrew White as well. So those guys would be comfortable. And, the other guys, like you said, a lot of them are very, very unselfish players. So it'll be interesting to see the go-to guy or, the captain that's on the court and who kind of scoops that up. I mean, Tyler Ennis, he came in his freshman year and did it and surprised everybody. So maybe he comes in as a point guard or at least runs the show. Maybe not scoring like Tyrese Rice, but, just keeping everything, kosher and calm like he did when he came in that first year. So those are some things to look at. And also, I mean, they have room to add somebody. I mean, 9 players isn't that much. So I'd like to see another big man or somebody. I mean, unless you're just worried about Rakeem and Marek playing against the centers, but
Mark he can step in there. He's done it before. I'm just looking at the teams, and there's a lot I've never heard of. So it'd be interesting. I know some of them changed their name. So Virginia Dream is their first year, and doesn't say who they are, but I imagine they're something to do with Virginia, right? TBD hoping to showcase the talent, and their mission is develop leaders. Okay, yeah, I don't know. But anyways, there's a bunch of new teams on here, and you can check it out at thetournament.com. So, all right. Switching gears here real quick. And the last thing on the agenda, really, and we bring it up because it's fun discussion, but we talked last show about, what kind of, like, forcing rivalries is one thing. Trying to find an old rivalry from the Big East is the most realistic option. I mentioned Notre Dame, Pitt, and with that said, Dior Johnson announced here recently that he's going to play for Pitt after decommitting from Syracuse, committing to Oregon, and then decommitting from Oregon and committing to Pitt, right? So it seems like, in my opinion, we talked a lot about him, and it's just, in my opinion, that he's just wants to be a one-man show, and he's going to settle at Pitt, and he's going to try to be their guy, right? So get as much of that spotlight on him as possible. And so when it came down to his top 3, which was Washington State, Mississippi State, and Pitt, there was a Syracuse fan at Tyndall Dave who has been in fan feedback, by the way. And I know for a fact he has, because I remembered the name. But anyways, he comments on this post, and it's not even from Dior Johnson, it's from one of these recruiting sites or whatever, after he posts his top 3. It says, Syracuse was a swing and a miss, thank God. Oregon dodged a bullet. Pitt is exclamation point. I'm not sure what that means. Being at the bottom of the ACC, he lasts until December. And Dior Johnson commented on that, said, see you in the dome with a devil emoji, right? So this sparked a little bit of controversy, and Nunes wrote about it, and trying to rekindle this Pitt rivalry, which I don't think needs to really be rekindled, other than the fact that, like Mike Waters pointed out, the attendance last year in the dome was bad. For the Syracuse Pitt game, the attendance was not great. It was 15,000. The attendance at the zoo, if you will, for the Syracuse Pitt game was just terrible. Was absolutely awful, right? So how can you have a rivalry without fans attending such a game? Okay, but we've talked ad nauseum at times about the Prentice Hub, Joe Girard stuff, which was awesome for those couple years. Pitt, Syracuse has had some seriously good games over the past few years. They've beat us when they shouldn't have a couple times.
Oh yeah.
And the past couple years, and they're fun to hate for me. And I think Dior Johnson is the icing on the cake for fun to hate, I feel like. And you know what I'm saying? He's just that guy. He's a little cocky. He's a little arrogant. He's poking fans. And I love all that stuff. I don't fault him for it at all. I love it. Because I do think that this could be a decent rivalry with, Judah Mintz coming in, right? Two superior freshmen, both top 50 at ESPN, right? Am I correct? I'm almost positive. I think Mintz was 33rd, and I think, and Dior Johnson was 35. So you got 2 point guards that are going to be playing. Now, Dior Johnson committed to Syracuse and decommitted, right? And then you've got Judah Mintz, who committed to Pitt and decommitted, and both of them are playing for the opposing teams, right? So we've got some crossover there. So, I mean, when you talk about a rivalry and setting something up, this kind of is a recipe for something like that to happen. Now, I'm not trying to force it or anything like that or try to create something that's not there. We'll just have to see. But I think this has got more potential than some of the ones we've tried to force in the past. Most notably, obviously, Syracuse and Duke. I think everybody knows how I feel about that. I know the younger fans really love that and want that, but when you go out and get your ass kicked all the time, it brings the fans in, but the games haven't been that close lately. And you got to have two things. You got to have fans and you got to have close games, right, for a rivalry, okay? And I think that this has potential. Look, attendance was down last year. Everywhere. Obviously, 15,000 in the Dome seems like a drop in the bucket, right? So
yeah,
it's just because of the size of the place. But you got to remember, 15,000 fans at an on-campus event for a basketball game is pretty decent. And we just compare our own numbers with our own numbers, and that's part of it. But I don't know, Joe. With all that set up and how this is going, and you got a shit talker in Dior Johnson, which is fine. I love it. And you know how I feel about it because I always patted Joe on the back for that, Joe Girard on the back for that, because I think he's been, I mean, maybe there's one in between, but like the Eric Devendorfs, like that's why I loved Eric Devendorf, is because he just is a shit talker. I mean, he gets you riled up. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know Judah Mintz, and he hasn't responded to any of this stuff that I've seen. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've read a couple articles about how, he's got, good family, faith, all that kind of stuff. So he seems like a grounded guy. Realistically, to be perfectly honest with you, in this case, it seems to me like, the cream kind of rose to the top of this one. Dior Johnson, sometimes there's some guys that they max out their potential earlier. They get up there, not saying that he's not good, right? But then, they max out their potential younger. They get to such a good at such a young age that their ego grows.
They've been catered to their whole life.
Right, and sometimes that's hard to, control. And he went from, in the last 2 years,
come on,
being like a top 10, 15 player, to now he's ranked back farther than Judah Mintz. So, meanwhile, Judah Mintz just chipping away. Seems like he got a good head on his shoulders. Doesn't seem like he's got much of an ego. Like you said, he hasn't responded to any of this stuff.
He's going to let his work do the talking, right? Seems like.
Well, and that's kind of what it was about, right, to me. I mean, it looked to me like Pittsburgh, he probably, I don't know if he verbally committed there, went there or whatever, and then maybe he got another offer or whatever, but maybe he saw that there was a little bit of dysfunction or there was some things that were going on there that he didn't like, decommitted, and he got a little bit higher rated, and then maybe decided to land with us after Dior had decommitted, right? And so, and as far as Dior goes, I mean, it just seems like he's been chasing playing time. And I don't know why he came in. I don't know why he decommitted. committed from Syracuse.
He would have
I don't know what
played.
the deal was.
Well, give a little. Can you give a little bit of the theory or what you think? Obviously, we don't know for sure, but you mentioned something I thought was interesting when we talked about this the other day.
Well, I just look at just everything that's happened, and just, you see everything and how the kids, as soon as there's a little bit of adversity or anything, he kind of just goes bolts. Doesn't really know how to handle it. He responds in social media, stuff like that. And I just don't see, Jim Boeheim's old school. So I don't see a situation where, this was Coach Boeheim's first pick, so to speak, when it came to someone he would like to coach. And maybe
there was some outside, well, not outside pressure, but some pressure from other coaches maybe saying, hey,
Yeah, but I also remember there was a rumor that when Dior Johnson committed, that there was a rumor that it wasn't even 100% offered. They didn't really know. They were still mulling it over, and then I think there was some back and forth. So, it's always going to be hearsay. No one's really going to hear about it, but he probably had the starting job locked up, but I just don't think that he was probably the type of player that Boeheim was looking forward to playing with. And I don't know if there were some conversations that some people didn't like. But yeah, he left there and he went to Oregon, again, in great school. So that he's talented. But he went there because, they had a guard that graduated and another guard that was testing the waters in the NBA. And after he committed, they got 2 transfer guards, and then the guard that was testing the NBA waters, he came back. So now he's buried in the depth chart again, or he's got some competition, so to speak. So he decommits, and then he ends up going to Pittsburgh, which seems to be just like perfect combination, because he seems like he's going to be in a place where it's a little chaotic anyway, and there's a lot of movement with that program the past few years, and
Capel's on his last straw over there.
And that's the whole thing. Right? So he's going to let him do whatever. I'm sure Capel probably said, "You can come in, do." He wants all the attention. He's going to want to run the team and do what he wants to do, and Capel needs to save his job. So to get somebody that decommitted, that was that highly ranked at the end of the recruiting period, to get in there, and with what Jeff Capel has, I'm sure he'll take it. So I'm glad that we got the one that we got, because, again, he ended up being more higher ranked, and he seems to be someone with a better head on his shoulders. And I guess my only question is that, are these players going to take it personally? Like, I almost wonder, and I'll probably end up going and doing research after this, but I almost wonder, have they ever played against each other?
Sure would have been nice if you did it before the show, but that's okay.
Well, I just kind of thought about this, but
I know I'm messing with you, go.
Have they played against each other in AAU? Have they actually crossed paths?
I think they have.
Or AAU?
I think they have. By the way, yeah.
So, and a lot of times when you're that good, you normally do. So we'll see. I know there's probably some of these All-Star games. I don't know if any of them made the Jordan Brand Classic or the McDonald All-American team. I don't know if that's out come out yet. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see regardless. We play them 2 times in basketball, and I'm just interested in whether or not the players are actually going to make it a little bit of a personal rivalry, so to speak, as well, just because of how this whole crazy offseason has been. So
I know. And, while I love, some of the in-your-face... I don't know how to put this. How I like some of the in-your-face, crap talking on the court. With what you mentioned with Judah Mintz, he's just going to let his work do the talking. I love guys like that too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now the crap talker on the courts, it's always awesome when it's your guy. You never mind it when it's your guy, and that stuff pumps you up. So you have to have...
It's not awesome when he's playing bad.
It's not awesome when he's playing bad, but chances are if he's talking some smack, he's making a run or something. But in Dior Johnson's case, and we just, we kind of... this has always been my thing, man. I mean, even with Judah Mintz, until I see him in an orange jersey on the court, I'm not going to count my chickens for my eggs hatch. My eggs still
I get it,
right now.
This Dior Johnson guy has set himself up to be like a Syracuse Orange villain of all time.
That's where I was going. Yes, he has done this. He's poked the bear. You know, our fans are as good as any with pushback and one-liners and retweets and all of the fun stuff that I don't partake in. They're good at that, okay? And it riled them up enough to comment to one guy, Mr. Dave Tyndall, okay? It bothered him that much to mess with this one guy, and this is no offense to Dave. This is no offense to Dave. I think he's got like, not many followers. It's not like a contest here. I'm just saying, you know, it just bothered him that much. It just got under his skin that much. So my point is that I think this guy's easily rattled. I'm glad he's not on my team, to be totally honest with you. Like, you could talk all the smack you want on social media, dude.
Right, but then how pissed are we all going to be when, if he comes in and drops 30 and Pittsburgh beats us?
Well, then you know what, dude? Then Syracuse did not prepare, and we did not learn anything from last year. I mean, what else do I have? There's nothing you can say if that's the case, right? You can't hate the guy for it. But, okay, let me give you a hypothetical. What if he comes out and freaking struggles and gets totally shut down by Judah Mintz and is totally visibly frustrated and shaken by it to the point that, you know, we can all see it written on his face, and we whoop their ass. I mean,
it'd be super.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it could go one of both ways, or it could just be land in the middle. They could both score. They could both drop 20, and both have a really good game, and maybe it's close, and maybe, you know, we lose, maybe we win.
Can't wait to see, but it definitely kind of pushed that Syracuse-Pittsburgh because, I mean,
yeah. I mean, give your thoughts on the actual, like, the point of this conversation is to talk about like a rival and how long do these players play, right? Obviously, it depends on how good they are, right? So, you know, you're looking at maybe 2 years with Judah Mintz, maybe not. Depends on how good he does, right?
Well, some of it's the players, you know, but I just think that I think this was a rivalry, and I think that it got lost. I think it got lost when we joined the ACC. Yeah, absolutely, because when we were doing that, Jamie Dixon was one of the best Big East coaches. Pittsburgh was good. I mean, they were ranked number 1. They were getting top 5 seeds in the NCAA tournament. We had good games all the time, and we were playing each other twice a year every time. So, we go to the ACC in the first couple of years is okay, but ever since then, it's kind of just going downhill.
Really, we talked about Tyler Ennis, right? So what was what was that 90-footer or what was that? What was that shot? Like 35, right? It was like 35.
It wasn't. It was a little less than half court.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I said 90. So anyway, it was like 35. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that. Like I remember hating Pitt back then. That wasn't even that long ago. I remember growing up hating Pitt, especially in football. Like I just grew up with that, right? Rutgers, Pitt, Boston College, football, like you just hated those guys, right? And I think that's where some of this gets lost with some of the fans that we have today. Fans that are probably like our boy Gio. You know, he doesn't remember some of this rivalry before 2014, and so they just, you know, the Syracuse Duke thing is what they try to wish into existence, and I like that, but I just don't believe it's the case. And we had some good games, but it just never held strong with me because obviously the Duke UNC thing is just that's second to none, and you know when you look at what the recipe is here for next year, it is going to be, for me, it is going to be one of those games that I can't wait to watch. It's going to be a lot of hype building up to these games, and we don't have a schedule, and we don't know when they're going to play, but I'm hoping that it's going to mean something, especially towards the end of the year. That would be awesome. Or ACC tournament time, whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to have a rivalry and have good attendance when both your teams suck.
That's the other thing. They're both coming off of bad seasons.
Yeah, and I remember going back and I saw somebody did something where they were showing, I forget who it was, but they were showing like, and maybe it was during the tournament or it was during the ACC tournament or something, and ESPN or ACC Network did it, but they showed the trajectory of like Pittsburgh and Syracuse in basketball and football, in especially basketball, and how good they were in 2013 when they both came in, and how the trajectory is just kind of went down as we've been to the ACC. So I think that has something to do with it as well. We're not as good as we normally are, and neither are they.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for them, but because I don't know their roster. But I think obviously our basketball, I think all of our teams are on the way up. Syracuse basketball and lacrosse. So, anyways. All right, anything to wrap it up, Joe? Joe's preoccupied right now.
Well, they got to be. They're gonna got to be end up getting better than what they have been. So, I mean,
it can't get worse than last year. It's literally the worst year ever.
Bar so low last year that how could we be any worse?
Yeah, so. It's like Joe Biden on a bike.
Knock on wood. I don't want to jinx us. So.
Okay. All right.
Oh God, I'm not going there.
That's all.
I think it's about time.
That's all I got. I could tell you're being summoned out of there. So we're gonna wrap it up here. Look, we will be back as soon as we can be back. As soon as some news comes out, maybe some football news next would be fantastic and entertaining. So once it builds up, we'll be back. Can't wait to do it. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.